Hi, welcome. We are live in the WBMS Eye Center study room. Please like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. Today we are interviewing Local 4's Emeritus meteorologist, Paul Gross. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. What does it mean to be Local 4's first Emeritus meteorologist?
Well, that was a nice honor that was bestowed upon me by the station, and it's just really a recognition of an entire career that I spent in that one weather office. I literally worked there for all of my 40-year career, and so it really was a very nice honor.
And you started off as an intern, I understand.
I did. I don't even count that in the 40 years. That was before the 40 years. I was an intern in 1981. I actually worked in the old broadcast facility, the old historic building that was right next to our current building. So I was an intern, and that kind of gave me the in, and I was very fortunate that I was able to get the job.
What was the reason you decided to retire?
You know, it's a couple of things. First of all, 40 years is a long time, and so that was certainly that weighed in my decision. I'd always wanted to get to 40 years, and to be very honest, I think I've accomplished everything that there was to accomplish at the station. I have a lot of close friends down there, and so the hard part was actually not seeing some of the closest friends I have in my entire life, not seeing them every day, but I had basically accomplished everything that I could possibly accomplish there at the station, and I'm just very grateful for the opportunity that I had. I mean, I dreamed of being a Channel 4 weatherman when I was 7 years old, and so to grow up and do that for 40 years is just extraordinary. So I'm very, very grateful, very thankful.
What inspired you to want to be a meteorologist?
Well, it started as a fear of storms. When I was younger than 7, when I was real little, I was terrified of storms. And then as I got into second grade, a second grade teacher noticed that I was real nervous. We had a little thunder shower passing overhead, and I was real nervous. So she took me to the school library, showed me that there was a section of books about weather, and suggested that I go and read about thunder and lightning, and maybe it'd be less scary. And by the end of second grade, not only did they become less scary, but they became more interesting to me. And at that point, I decided I wanted to be a weatherman. And my Uncle Eddie asked me one day, Paul, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a weatherman. And he said, you mean like Sonny Elliott, the weatherman at Channel 4? And I said, yeah. And so I've gotten to do what I dreamed of doing starting at age 7 for 40 years.
What was your favorite anchor group that you got to work with?
Wow. I can't answer that without offending somebody. I have worked with a lot of great people, and I can't even single out a particular group. The two current groups that I've been really blessed to be able to work with, the morning team that we have at the station, and then the evening team that we have at the station. I've worked a lot with both, especially over the last year or two of my career, and some of the most incredible people I've ever known. And so I can't just say there's one person or two people that are my favorites. Now, I will say there is one producer that I can say his name. Matt Morosky is his name, and he's the executive producer of the morning and the noon newscast. So he oversees the whole morning half of the day for our newscast. And he was always very supportive of all the stories I like to do, all the science stories, the environmental stories, the global warming stories, things like that. I always loved when I got to work with him because he always embraced these extra stories that I like to do, because I love to teach, I love to educate, and a lot of people told me they really liked those stories that I did. So a lot of thanks to Matt for letting me do those, and I always especially enjoyed the opportunities to work with that. He's, again, one of our executive producers at the station.
Did you have a script that was on a teleprompter when you were doing the weather or those stories?
No, and that's something that people don't understand, and that is that the news anchors and the sportscasters, they're all reading from scripts, and they're reading about things that have already happened, but the meteorologists are actually ad-libbing. We do not have teleprompter for what we do. The weather is completely ad-libbed, so there is no script. We just, basically, all of our maps and our satellite images, the radar, all of that basically are our scripts, and just our knowledge of the weather and what's happening with the weather. Those maps and things tell us everything we need to know.
Did you have holiday parties with the Local 4 team?
Oh yes. They frequently did a December holiday party for many years. We did that, and then the morning show team they always do a holiday potluck. Usually it's the week before Christmas or so. They do a holiday potluck, and we do one of those white elephant gift exchange things where you draw the numbers, and you draw the numbers, and then that person picks, and then the next person picks, or you can steal somebody's gift. So we do that, and the morning team always has been a very, very close family, and we've always done that.
Other than the weather center, were you just in the studio when you gave the weather?
Yeah, those are the two places, the studio and the weather center. Now, the only other exception is going to be if I'm out live reporting. Now, I've been out live reporting after severe thunderstorms and tornadoes. I've been out live reporting in the middle of winter storms and things. So obviously for those, I'm going to be reporting out where that weather occurred or is occurring. But in terms of in the building, I'd say 99.9% of the weather that I've done has been either in the studio or in the weather office.
Do you have a drone for the weather team?
We have a station drone, which can be used for weather purposes if we want, but we don't have our own drone in the weather office, no.
Do you ever have anxiety while or before you are giving a forecast?
I don't, because, and this could be true of really any job that a person can have, if you really work hard and you really know your stuff and you're good at what you do, then that really can replace or mask a lot of the nerves. So I really don't have, in fact, I'll be joking and talking with the news anchors and stuff until there's maybe 1.5 seconds left at the end of the commercial before we're on the air. We'll be just, chatting and telling jokes or something. I mean, we'll be, sometimes during those commercial breaks, we'll be talking right up to literally to the very end, and the stage man will be screaming, "Stand by!" And it's like a second later, we're on the air. And we just all of a sudden stop. All right, Paul's here with the weather now, and so you don't know that, but no, I'm not nervous. Even when there's a severe thunderstorm warning, I'm doing a special update for you remember the snowstorm we had 2-3 weeks ago,
yes,
where we had 6.5, 7 inches of snow. I did 45 minutes of consecutive weather during that on our local 4+ channel, and included in that were 2 interviews with people, and I was on the air for 45 straight minutes without a break. And so again, no nerves. Just when you're well prepared. And again, this is good advice, and it's true for anybody. If you are well prepared and you've done your work, then that takes care of a lot of your nerves.
What is your favorite season of weather?
Oh, that goes without saying. I love summer. And it's just from a pure enjoyment standpoint. I love kayaking on Lake Michigan. I love golfing, playing ball. There's a lot of things I love to do in the summer. And that doesn't mean I don't like the other seasons. I love getting out there and shoveling snow after a nice snow. It's just, I love the summer because I just love being warm, and I love playing, and I do a lot of my own landscaping. I have a nice garden at home. So I like doing all that stuff, and that's warm weather stuff.
What is your strength in weather forecasting?
2 things. There's the actual forecast. In other words, the actual putting together the forecast, and there's a second strength I'll talk about in a second. The strength that I have as a forecaster is that I probably put in more time just into making my forecast than most TV meteorologists in the entire country. I mean, if I'm working, for example, let's say I'm working the morning newscast. Typical morning newscast, if I'm working that shift, I get up at 1 a.m. and I'd be there at 2:15 in the morning. Most TV meteorologists around the country that work that same shift, same start for a newscast, they don't get in till like 3, and maybe even 3:15, 3:30 for some of them. And I'm not saying that that's wrong for them. What I'm saying is that's not right for me. I need more time, and I spend a lot of time really diving into the computer models, and I spend a lot of time working, even on days 7, 8, 9, and 10 of the forecast. I put a lot of time into that because I want that forecast, not just tomorrow, but the whole 10-day forecast. I want that to be accurate. So that's a particular strength of mine. The other strength, and this is when I'm presenting the weather, is that I'm very honest with people. If I'm not certain about something, I'm going to be very candid and very honest about what I'm not certain about. I will be I'll just say it again. I'm just going to be, I'm always honest with you about what's certain and what's not certain in the forecast. And I think that's very important because people make decisions. They make decisions based on the information that I provide. And if they have a decision to make, I think it's important for people to understand how confident or how uncertain I am in a particular forecast, because sometimes I need to be honest and say to people, we're not sure about this Saturday. Give me another day or two and this will all come into focus and we'll be able to give you a better handle then. So it's okay to be honest as a meteorologist. And in fact, I think it's very important to be.
What is your weakness in weather forecasting?
Boy, oh boy, what would be my weakness in weather forecasting? Probably that I try to cram too much stuff into a 2.5 or 3 minute weather segment. That's probably my biggest weakness. There's so much information and so many things I want to explain, so many things I want to show to you that I tell you, Max, I just sometimes try to cram too much into a weather forecast, a weathercast, a weather segment. So that was probably my biggest weakness.
What is the hardest job as a weather forecaster?
The hardest job, I mean, of any meteorologist?
Yeah, just like as a weather forecaster.
Well, I would say the hardest job is the forecast for like rocket launches down at NASA, down at the Kennedy Space Center. I mean, those meteorologists, they take what I do and they have to magnify the detail and all that by like 100. I mean, what they have to do, what they have to very specifically forecast for those rocket launches is just remarkable. So that would be one of the hardest things that a meteorologist has to do is forecast for those. I think also the meteorologists, and I have friends that work out west, like I have a very close friend who works in Denver. When you work in a city where you have mountains, I'm telling you, Max, there are different kinds of weather. In certain situations, the weather can be very different based on altitude. You could say people living, say, 5,000 feet above, in elevation, they might be getting 1.5 feet of snow, whereas below 5,000 feet, it's going to be rain. So there are people know what level they live at, and so if you're off by 1,000 feet, all of a sudden somebody that thought they were going to get rain is going to get 1.5 feet of snow, or the other way around. Somebody that thought they were going to get 1.5 feet of snow might get just rain. So out in the mountains, out west in the Rockies, you have to literally forecast for various altitudes above the ground.
What year did you start being a weather forecaster?
I was hired by Channel 4 in January of 1983. So that's when I officially started working at Channel 4.
What is your easiest job as a weather forecaster?
Easiest job would probably be 5 straight days of sunny and 75 degrees. It doesn't get much easier than that. But here in the Great Lakes, there's always something that can go wrong. So even then, we can't just kind of mail in the forecast. We can't just take the day off and just not do the work. We always still have to do the work because the Great Lakes can have an impact on our weather that is not going to be an impact that surrounding areas are going to get. So it's sometimes, yes, sometimes it is very easy to forecast our weather, but we can never let our guard down.
What is your favorite job as a weather forecaster or reporter?
Well, I don't want to call it favorite because that people might think that this is what I want to happen. But when there's a big storm coming, or there are tornadoes that are in the forecast, or severe thunderstorms, things like that, an ice storm, I feel that I do my best work in those big event weather situations. And so I don't want that weather to happen, but if that weather is going to happen, then I want to be the one that's telling you about it and explaining it because I think I do that very well.
What inspired you to make the gross weather bill?
Oh, I can tell you exactly. And for those of you who don't know, the gross weather bill was a bill I got passed into law here in Michigan that now requires every school to do at least 2 tornado safety drills per school year. And I was at a meeting, actually, of the Michigan Committee for Severe Weather Awareness. And somebody told me there was nothing in state law that said that schools had to do tornado drills. I thought, well, that's not right. But then at the next meeting, they showed me a newspaper article about a high school in Grand Rapids, and there had been a tornado warning issued. The sirens were going off. Okay, this was a tornado warning. And in the school, when the alert went off, they mistook it for a fire alarm, and they sent all the kids outside. During a tornado warning, they sent all the kids outside because they weren't sure what the alert was in the school. And so at that point, I got mad. And I contacted a state legislator, and he agreed. and I went and testified before the State House and the State Senate Education Committees in Lansing, and it passed out of the committees and went to the full House and the full Senate. They passed it with a few small changes, and I was with Governor John Engler when the gross weather bill was signed into law, and it is now state law that every public school in the entire state of Michigan has to do a tornado safety drill, 2 of them a year.
What was your schedule like when at work?
Well, my schedule changes a lot at work. It changed all the time. And especially after Ben Bailey, our previous meteorologist, left, there were days that I was working the evening shift where I came in at like about 1:45, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd work till 11:30 at night. And there were other days where I was getting up at 1 in the morning and working that shift where I had to get in at 2:15 in the morning, and I worked until 12:30 in the afternoon. My schedule was all over the place. I did some weekend shifts. I mean, I was the guy that basically filled in for everybody. So I didn't have, I had a regular shift, but it changed so much because I was always working all the different newscasts when people were off.
Did you have a favorite shift?
Well, I loved the people that I worked with on all of the shifts. So there's no favorite in terms of the people. Obviously, the evening shift is going to be easier than the morning shift just because of the hours. It's hard to get your body to go to bed at 6:30 at night and get up at 1 in the morning. And so that was hard. That's just harder. And there's a lot more pressure to get things done on that morning shift in terms of the deadline to get those things done than there is the evening shift. So the evening shift was an easier shift, in my opinion, but I really enjoyed working both because we had fantastic people. We have fantastic people working on both ends of the shifts, and I just had a blast working with the gang on the morning show and with the gang in the evening shows. I just had a blast working with both of those sets of folks, and some of these people are some just very close friends that I got to spend a lot of quality time with by nature of what we do at TV stations.
Do you use caffeine if you have to do that 1 a.m. shift?
I'm not a caffeine guy. I never really drink caffeine. Now, what I do on that early morning shift, I do bring down a mug of tea that I drink, but that's really more to just kind of clear my throat, basically. I don't need the caffeine. So I don't, I like never drink pop or, things like that. Again, if I drink any caffeine, it's just I'll drink a cup of tea just because I enjoy tea, but I don't need caffeine.
What is your education?
I got a Bachelor of Science degree in meteorology from the University of Michigan. And we were actually talking beforehand in the hallway that a lot of people don't realize what it takes to become a meteorologist. I had to take, at U of M, I had to take 3 semesters of chemistry, 2 semesters of physics, and 7 semesters of math. And that's because basically the weather is chemistry and physics of the atmosphere. And so to teach you all of the things that happen in the atmosphere, they use very, very complicated math to explain all of that theory. All the things that happen in the atmosphere, that's all explained using very, very complicated math. So to become a meteorologist, you have to be good at math. You have to accept that math is part of it, because if you can't handle the math, you can't be a meteorologist.
What are you working on currently?
Well, a lot of people don't know that for the past 35, 37 years, I've also done private meteorological consulting. So attorneys will hire me because there are certain kinds of lawsuits where they need the expertise of a meteorologist to provide certain facts that are very, very important in the case. It could be an auto crash, it could be a flooding case, a lightning strike, a person slips and falls. Any of that stuff, and both defense attorneys and plaintiff attorneys, so both sides, they hire me because I'm an unbiased, independent expert witness, it's called, and I just provide the facts of what the weather was. And so I do that, and then I have a lot of hobbies. I love to work out. I have a nice gym in my basement, and I love to go up north, place up north. We're on Lake Michigan, so I love to find Petoskey stones and sand and polish Petoskey stones. And then I mentioned earlier, I love to golf, and I love to kayak and bowl. I want to get better at golf. I want to be one of the few people who has a hole-in-one in golf and a perfect 300 game in bowling. I want to be one of the few people that can accomplish both. The closest I've been on a golf shot was about 3 feet, about that far, 3 feet from the pin. And in bowling, I'm stuck at 299. I got the first 11 strikes, and I got 9 on that last ball, and I needed a strike. And so I've been close, but no cigar yet. So hopefully I can maybe get a little better and accomplish that goal.
You can do it.
I hope so. Hey, that's live TV for you. I want to tell you, I've had newscasts where the lights went out in the studio, where all of a sudden cameras just lost their mind, the computer screwed up, and all of a sudden the camera starts moving across the studio and stuff like that. So this is just all part of the business. I saw a news anchor on NBC, Kristen Welker. She was doing a live shot, and one of the lights they had set up literally blew down right in front of her, just crashed down right in front of her, and she kept going without missing a beat. And so
I also have seen on your Instagram that you've done some weather sheets since you've retired.
Yep. People on social media love when I post those hand-analyzed maps. It's an old school thing, but it's really important, I think, because even with all the computers and things we have now, that old school method of hand-analyzing the maps, it will give you detail that maybe a computer is going to miss. The computer might miss some details. And so I can do those from home because I have all the websites bookmarked where I get those maps to plot. And people love it. People just love those maps.
If you don't have time to watch a forecast or just need to know what the forecast is there a certain app that people can go to?
Well, I always tell people the Local 4, the 4's weather app is the nation's best weather app. And it really is. And the reason that app is better is because, first of all, we designed it ourselves at Local 4. We actually have a digital team upstairs, and they said they're going to be designing us a weather app, and they work with us to put in a lot of the features we wanted. So most TV stations, I mean most TV stations in the country, what they do is they basically buy a generic app. They contract with the company, buy a generic app, and what the company does is just puts their logos on it, and it's just a generic weather app with their logo on it. But our app, we designed it ourselves. So we have things like, we have an earthquake layer in there where you can see where the latest earthquakes have occurred. We have a great tropical page in there. You have the real-time radar, which a lot of apps have, but then we also have Futurecast, which takes the radar and projects it ahead in time, I think 5 or 6 hours. So it tells you where the weather is going to be, and that helps you to plan. So the 4's weather app, it's real easy. You go to the App Store, search under WDIV, and it's 4's weather. You'll see it. It's free, and it is truly the nation's best weather app.
It is a great app.
Yeah.
Here's a gift of flowers from Miss Lisa.
Oh, that's nice
Graff,
of you guys.
one of the WBMS assistant principals. She thanks you for all that you do. And I would like to also thank you for joining and for all you do. And also for Miss Lisa, a thank you to Miss Lisa Graff for all she does and for filming and for making today happen, as well as everyone who supports and has helped me with today. And also Miss Nancy Putras for making this wonderful background behind us, and for everyone else who's helping. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you. You did a fantastic job. I was really happy to be a part of this, and thank you for the orchid. I love orchids. I've never been good at taking care of them, although I finally just succeeded for the first time with one at home. And so purple's my favorite color. You wore purple for me. Thank you very much, sir. Well done. Well done. I have purple socks on, but we're not going to show those.
Nope. All right.
All right. Thank you.